been looking at this series on hope, and I don't think I could ever grow old on hope. I think it's something that we always need. It's like encouragement. I don't know anybody who goes, I'm too encouraged, just don't give me any more encouragement. Hope is what gets us out of bed. Helps us face the day. It gets us beyond ourselves. Hope. So like some of these quotes, I'm going to still look at them again. I like it. When you say a situation or person is hopeless, you're slamming the door in the face of God. As long as there's God, there's hope. Once we say something's hopeless, we've lost all contact with God in that situation. Hopeless. I think we've all felt it, haven't we? We've all felt that wall. Where it's all on you and you don't see any other way around or through or over or under. God's there. And how discouragement is in the middle of hopelessness. Howard Hendrick says, discouragement is the anesthetic the devil uses on a person just before he reaches in and carves out his heart. Discouragement is the enemy of hope. That's how the enemy gets in. Discouragement. As we looked at last week, you don't drown by falling in the water, you drown by staying there. We all experience turbulent times. We all experience turbulent times. It's how we deal with it. What do? It's staying right in that spot. You know, why do pigs like the mud hole? Well, there's different reasons, because they're made that way. Meaning because pigs don't sweat. So pigs need water. So they go where the water is, and the water's in the mud. Because they want to keep cool. It's their nature. Lord, break it that our nature is just to go back to the mud places. It's our nature to somehow wallow in the junk. It's our nature to stay in that place. It's our nature. Don't help us, God, to see a better place than the muck. As familiar as it is. And then this passage by David. I still, we still need to answer this question and continue to answer this question, because I think different times it has different things work for us. David was greatly distressed, for the men spoke of stoning him, because the souls of them were bitterly grieved, each man for his sons and daughters, because the sons and the daughters were taken and stolen, maybe killed. But David encouraged and strengthened himself in the Lord. When everybody's against you, when people are even... I've never experienced that people want to stone me. Maybe people stone me maybe with their words, with their mouths maybe, but literally to kill me. But David, you can just put, well, what do? How do you encourage yourself in God when no one else is around, when everybody's seemingly against you, when you're as alone can be? How do you deal with it? What do you do? Where do you reach to? How do you get through? How do you get around? How do you look over the bad places in life? How do you encourage yourself? Strengthen, encourage yourself in the Lord. If you have ways to encourage yourself in the Lord, there is no valley too low. There's no obstacle too high. And if you don't have a way to encourage yourself, if you don't know how to encourage yourself in God, when the bad times come. I'm not sure how you get it. I'm not sure what you do.
But I think we need to practice those ways when we're in a level place or even an up place, because if you don't, then when you get down, you're not going to remember them.
Right, and that's one of the things that we talked about last week, is that if you are out of fuel,
Yeah.
if you are empty, when you come to this place, you can't draw on anything. There's nothing to draw on when you're empty. David obviously wasn't empty. Don't live in the empty place. Sometimes we don't realize we're empty
That's right.
until we're beside the road. And that's what we looked at last week, was recharge your batteries. Nobody does well running on empty. Keep yourselves fueled in a flame. That's a discipline, that's a practice. That's an act of humility, saying, I can't do it. I need God. We wake up and go to our knees instead of living a while, and we find ourselves fallen. And then desperate. We wake up with humility, admitting who we are and who our source of strength is. And today we're going to say, raise your expectations. Because hope needs a solid foundation. Without a solid foundation, because let's put it this way, without a solid foundation, I can tell you, just hope, just hope, just hope. It's not going to work. If you're empty, you can't hope. You don't know how to hope. Very difficult. And I gave the illustration last week. You know what? How many here go to the gas station when you already have gas in your vehicle? All of us do, unless what happens?
That's true.
You've run out, and you don't want to run out of fuel. Why?
Push your car.
You better get restarted.
Because you're in deep weeds.
Bad for your gas tank.
You'll be in deep weeds if you run out of fuel. So you go to the Lord while you have fuel in your tank. You've got to go to the Lord while you still have fuel in your tank. Where you're not running very empty. You don't go. So maybe you say, I feel pretty good. That's when you really need to go to press into God. You need to press into God when you already have fuel in your tank. Or else we live this bad roller coaster life where we go to God, we finally get some fuel, and then we go to the next time when we just completely out of fuel, and then we just live this bad roller coaster Christianity life. Horrible experience. And so we're going to, these are the things, we looked at this before, so this week we're going to look at raise your expectations. You don't get what you deserve, you get what you expect. Last week we talked about recharging your batteries. Nobody does well running on empty. Don't burn out. Keep yourselves full in the flame. Go to the gas station often, right? Jesus made a practice of withdrawing to remote places in order to pray. Make it a practice to pray. Ongoing prayer. That's the key. The key to Jesus' life was his relationship with the Father. Drained people are more susceptible to the toxic emotions of fear, anxiety, discouragement. Drained people make bad decisions. Drained people do not respond well, feel well, or live well. What drains you, what fuels you. Stay away from the things that drain you. And don't be... Now, we could say, well, life drains me. What are you going to do there? I mean, that ain't no good. Or sometimes we blame everything on everything else, and then we'll never do we'll never do anything. You know, we talked about, man, what fuels you? Concentrate on what fuels you. And, you know, stay away from toxic things. Raise your expectations. With God, all things are possible. There is a plug that needs to go into that. There we go, in the end one there.
Right here.
Yeah, that's it.
Up.
That's it. There we go. Yeah, it'll leave, because there's going to be a little clip here coming up. With God, all things are possible. Do you believe in miracles? You do? Do you count on miracles? Then how do you, what do you mean? You believe that miracles are possible, but you really don't experience miracles. You experience miracles? Jesus said, "Why are you so timid and fearful? How is it that you have no faith?" He said this to his disciples. How come you have no faith? You can be a disciple and have little to no faith. There's a thought. Now here, take delight in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. Most people like this part, not the... God will give you the desires of your heart. God will give you the desires of your heart. God will give you the desires of your heart. What does it mean to delight in the Lord?
To love what He loves.
Excuse me?
To love what He loves.
To love what He loves. Okay, if we love what He loves, then He'll give us what we want, because we want is what He wants. We have bad expectations because we don't delight in Him first. If we delight in Him, God will give us the desires of our heart. How would you like to have the desires of your heart? How about, if we get excited about delighting in Him, He will give us the desires of our heart. Wow. Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. What do you think? Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. Is that true?
As a general principle.
As a general principle. I got a clip here. Maybe it's nice. That's a little loud. That's the guy when he comes on. Yeah, turn it up now.
I was watching Book TV, and there was a gentleman on TV called Walter Isaacson, and he's written the biography of Steve Jobs. And one of the things Steve could do was create something called the reality distortion field, where he got people that knew with their expertise that this is not possible, but somehow he convinced them, these are not the droids you're looking for. And they believed the BS he was talking about and created amazing things. So he gave an example of Steve Jobs wanted to release the Macintosh, and the boot up time was just way too long to boot up the OS, the BIOS, the whole 9 yards. And what Steve wanted the engineer to do was to shave off 10 seconds off that time. And the engineer said, it's just not possible. We've actually got this thing down to as small as it could be, as fast as it could be. We can't take off a second off the boot time. And Steve used one of the tools called the power of metaphor to create the reality distortion field. And this is how he used it. He went to the engineer and says, could you shave off 10 seconds off the boot up time if someone's life depended upon it? And all of a sudden the engineer, if a life depended on it, instead of being rigid, it was like, well, if life depended on it, yeah, maybe. He said, well, think about it. We're going to sell millions of Macintosh computers. We're going to change the world. And people might boot this computer up 2-3 times a day. Think of it. Each person 20, 30 seconds a day times the millions of people, in a year you wouldn't be saving one life. Every year you'd be saving maybe 5,000 lifetimes. Does that change things? And the engineer said, okay, maybe we can do something. And he goes away and comes back a month later, and he wasn't able to shave off 10 seconds off the time. He was able to shave off 20. See, that's the power of metaphor. Sometimes you go to people and you say, you know, you need to change this. And when you tell them directly, all of a sudden, they resist, because they're looking at the world through their eyes. But if you use the power of metaphor, all of a sudden, they set aside their beliefs. They set aside their expertise, and they look at the metaphor, and the power of the metaphor allows them to see a different future, a future where anything is possible. So if you want to get people that you lead, be it your children, be it your coworkers, be it your employees, using the power of metaphor creates the reality distortion field, and it allows you to be a great leader and help your people achieve amazing things.
Okay, you do this now. Turn it down. Just turn it down. Okay. I don't think it's the power of the metaphor that changed anything. It was Steve Jobs who believed that there could be something different than there was. He actually believed it. Now, you can read about it on the internet. It's called reality distortion field. The people around Steve Jobs said that he had a reality distortion field. That his reality was different than other people, and he would go for things that everybody thought was impossible. So the question is, do you have a reality distortion field or a reality discouragement field? Well, I'm not going to be able to do that, so I won't do that, and it's not possible to do that, so I won't do that, and I can't do that because of this and that. Do we see the impossible and say it's possible, or do we see the halfway possible and say, well, it's impossible? And what's amazing about this is that the secular business community believes that impossible things are possible. They do it all the time. But many Christ followers have stopped believing in the impossible. The secular world has discovered the power of raising their expectations, while at the same time Christ followers have lowered their expectations. Why is this? We expect little to nothing. We don't see beyond ourselves. We don't see about the possibilities of what could be. People who have vision expect more from life, and they almost always get it. You don't get what you deserve, you get what you expect. So how do we get out of this life where there's this reality discouragement field? I'm discouraged, therefore I'm not going to try. I'm discouraged, therefore I won't go and do brand new things. I'm discouraged because it's really tough. And you know, we have a million excuses why we don't do what we probably need to do. And we're stuck. How about this? I'm going to adapt Henry Ford's statement. Whether you think God can or whether you think God can't, you're right. How about that? How about that one?
That's true. That's a general principle.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
Well, it's like there was this pastor and got this frantic call from this mother because her son's finger had just been taken off. And
Stand up.
And he went over to her house and prayed for this child, really not believing anything was going to happen, and the kid grew a new finger.
Wow.
So sometimes God works in spite of us, or maybe it's someone else's faith that's working and not our own.
How many times is faith mentioned in the Bible? Faith in God. Lots. Faith. You know, the thing about it is we all have faith.
That's right.
We have a lot, maybe a lot more faith in our doubts. We have a lot more faith in our junk. We have a lot more faith in our pain. We have a lot more faith in our past. This is the way it's always been. This is the way it will ever be. But that's a belief. It's a everything that we hold as true is a belief. We need to raise our expectation levels. We need to raise our expectation levels. I'll give some suggestions. Number one, choose to believe impossible things are possible. We're never going to get anywhere if we don't believe impossible things are possible. Is your pain or your past shaping your thoughts? That's a question. Is your pain or your past shaping your thoughts? Is that why you don't think things are possible? Maybe it's your past. Maybe it's your pain. Are your fears stifling your hope? Maybe that's why you don't think it's possible, because you have a lot of fear and anxiety. Some of the big questions at the root: why do you believe what you believe? Why do you believe it? What is God telling you? What has God said? And I've asked people that before. What is God telling you? Then I've heard people say, well, I can't hear God. God seems silent to me. Baloney! Have you read the Bible lately? God's speaking all the time. God's given us a whole book. But do we actually believe it? In Hebrews chapter 13, it says that Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Just as He was back there some 2,000 years ago, He's right here, right now. Do you believe that? I've heard people say, boy, if I had lived back there in Jesus' time, it would have been a lot easier. Jesus is here right now. But if you don't believe that, it doesn't matter. The miracle won't come to you probably. What do you think? Choose to believe impossible things are possible. God's speaking right now. His words are written all over the Bible. God is speaking. Number two, know that God has better days ahead for you. If you don't believe that God has better days ahead for you, it's never going to work for you. How many of you, when you've got a hotel room and it's the last day that you're there and you're ready to leave, how many of you say, I think we need to clean the bathroom and vacuum the floors and clean everything in here? Have you ever cleaned? What do you do? Why not?
Because it's not expected of you.
Because there's not any better days in this room. And yet we don't try to improve it because it's over. We're not going to live there anymore. And many of us have settled and let things go because we don't believe it's going to get any better anyway. There's not better days ahead. But if you believe there's better days ahead, you're going to do something about it. You're going to clean up. Or it's like, it's time to get the rental car back. I think I'm going to wash it first. Well, of course we never do that. Because we're giving it up. We're taking it back. press on. Now here's a good quote. I like this passage. I press on, Paul says, to take hold of that which Christ Jesus took hold of me. Now, Paul is saying, the reason that Christ has me on this earth is the reason that I'm pressing into Him. I press on to take hold of that which Christ Jesus took hold of me. Why does God have you on this earth? And I want you to look, don't look for anything too outstandingly unique. He has you on this earth to be a witness to other people. He has you on this earth to love. So I press into Jesus to take a hold of my purpose of being a witness and loving others. That's my purpose in life. Brothers and sisters, I do not consider myself yet taken hold of it. I'm not perfect. I'm still in process. But one thing I do, say one thing.
One thing.
What if you just do this one thing? I think sometimes we make some things very difficult, life very difficult. One thing I do, forgetting what is behind. What if from right now, we would have, it's like we'd have one big Etch-a-Sketch. Everything in the past, we'd shake it and it's clear. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. Forgetting what is behind is straining towards what is ahead. God has better days for me. I press on to the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus. I'm going to press on to the very purpose why He called me and put me on this earth. That's what I do. Better days are ahead, and that's what Romans 8:28 says. And we know that in all things God works together for good. God works everything in the past together for good. Everything in the past, He can work it all to good, for my good, for the kingdom's good. He can work it all to good. Now, if you don't believe that, there again, it's that belief thing. If you don't believe that He can do that, it's very difficult. Better days aren't ahead. Because my life got ruined because of my upbringing, my life got ruined because of this, my life got ruined because of everything, whatever in the past. Is God bigger than that? Maybe your God's too small. Maybe our God's too small. That's the problem. I like this by Ray Johnson. He says, where there is no faith concerning the future, there's no power in the present. And there's no faith concerning the future. There's no faith concerning the future of that hotel room, so there's no power in the present to clean it up. Where there's no faith in the future, there's no power in the present. Number 3, realize the power of perspective. Nothing will ever change until we admit that one of the biggest limitations is our present thinking. Perspective. Can I borrow your glasses? Perspective. Now, what do glasses do?
Correct vision so you can see clearly.
Correct vision. Have you ever tried to take somebody else's corrections and put it on yourself? Boy, you guys are screwed up. You guys are messed up. And isn't that what we do sometimes? We look through whatever vision where we think that the right perspective is, and then we can't see. Everything is screwed up, and I'm wondering why I'm running into everything. I'm wondering what's wrong with Kathy. You know, I'm wondering, why your hair is messed up. It's all about perspective. What if we take on God's perspective of life? Wow. We do. We have a divine